What is life without spirituality, my friend? You may say, oh, it's everything. And I say to you, build upon the shoulders of giants before you. My name is Tarab. I make videos about emotional intelligence every day. And today I will be talking about another chapter from the prophet Khalil Gibran, one of the most beautiful writers I have ever come across in my life. And he says, on crime and punishment, on his venture to the seas, to the seafarers, away from Orphalese, away from the people that he has spent so much time with. The people yearn, they say, come on, man, give us something. Give us something from your judgments of us, from your observation of us. If you have a chance, if you've been stuck in the shit for a long time, and you have a chance, life throws you an opportunity, go take it. Get the fuck out. Go experience something new. On crime and punishment. Then one of the judges of the city stood forth and said, speak to us of crime and punishment. And he answered, saying, it is when your spirit goes wandering upon the wind that you alone and unguarded commit a wrong unto others and therefore unto yourself. And for the wrong committed must you knock and wait a while unheeded at the gate of the blessed. Like the ocean is your God self. It remains forever undefiled. And like the ether, it lifts but the winged. Even like the sun is your God self. It knows not the ways of the mole, nor seeks the holes of the serpent. But your God self dwells not alone in your being. Much in you is still man, and much in you is not yet man, but a shapeless pygmy that walks asleep in the midst, searching for its awakening. And of the man in you would speak, wow. Sometimes we fuck up. Like the ocean is your God self, it remains forever undefiled. And like the ether, it lifts but the winged. Even like the sun is your God self. It knows not the way the mole, nor seeks in the holes of the serpent. But your God self dwells not alone in your being. Much in you is still man, and much in you is not yet man. But a shapeless pygmy that walks asleep in the midst, or in the mist, searching for its awakening. And of the man in you would I now speak. For it is he and not your God self, nor the pygmy in the mist, that knows crime and the punishment of crime. Oftentimes have I heard you speak of one who commits a wrong, as though he were not one of you, but a stranger unto you, and an intruder upon your world. But I say that even as the holy and the righteous cannot rise beyond the highest which is in each one of us, so the wicked and weak cannot fall lower than the lowest which is also in each one of us. And as a single leaf turns not yellow, but with this silent knowledge of the whole tree, so the wrongdoer cannot do wrong without the hidden will of all of you. Like a procession, you walk together towards your God self, and you are the way and the wayfarers. And when one of you falls down, he falls for those behind him, a caution against the stumbling stone. Aye, he falls for those ahead of him, who though faster and surer of foot, yet removed not the stumbling stone. And this also, though the word lie heavy upon your hearts, the murdered is not unaccountable for his own murderer, and the robbed is not blameless in his being robbed. The righteous is not innocent of the deeds of the wicked, and the white-handed is not clean of the doings of the felon. Yet the guilty is oftentimes a victim of the injured, and still more often The condemned is the burden bearer for the guiltless and the unblamed. You cannot separate the just from the unjust, and the good from the wicked. For they stand together before the face of the sun, even as the black thread and the white are woven together. And when the black thread breaks, the weaver shall look into the whole cloth, and he shall examine the loom also. If any of you would bring to judgment the unfaithful wife, let him also weigh the heart of her husband in scales, and measure his soul with measurements. And let him who would lash the offender look onto the spirit of the offended. And if any of you would punish in the name of righteousness, and lay the axe onto the evil tree, let him see to its roots, and verily he will find the roots of the good and the bad, the fruitful and the fruitless, all entwined together in the silent heart of the earth. And you judges who would be just, what judgment pronounce you upon him who, though honest in the flesh, yet is a thief in spirit? What penalties lay you upon him who slays in flesh, yet is himself slain in spirit? And how prosecute you him who is in action is a deceiver and an oppressor, yet who is aggrieved and outraged? And how shall you punish those that remorse is already greater than their misdeeds? Is not remorse the justice which is administered by the very law which you would fain serve? Yet you cannot lay remorse upon the innocent, nor lift it from the hearts of the guilty. Unbidden shall it call in the night, and men may wake and gaze upon themselves. And you who understand justice, how shall you unless you look upon all deeds in the fullness of light? Only then shall you know that the erect and the fallen are but one man standing in twilight between the night of a pygmy self and the day of his God self. And that the cornerstones of the temple is not higher than the lowest stone in its foundation. He says, don't blame without knowing yourself. He says, don't judge without judging yourself. He says, listen. Every species is responsible for every individual in each species is responsible for every other individual in each species. Each one teach one. Gibran, my man Khalil Gibran, I hope in the ether you're watching me read this to my audience, but really incredible. This goes back to, and this is a simple explanation, one I've used a lot of times, the people that committed the crimes of the genocide, the Nazi camps. I think a lot of us in society assume that these people are somehow different than you and me. And I say to you that perhaps we don't know ourselves well enough. Perhaps we don't understand the laws that govern our nature. The reality is, if we're put into those circumstances, we would probably very, very likely act very similar in order to survive in our own right. Now, does that make us good or evil? Perhaps certain motivations, sure. But I think what he's trying to parse apart here, what he's trying to string apart here, is to tell us that there are subtleties in life. Tremendous subtleties. And in which good and evil, which binary doesn't work. So a lot of us say, oh, we hate this thing, or we love this thing. And yet, we fail to understand that perhaps that very thing that we hate consists of a makeup of things that we love. I can't give you a good example for this. But if you have come up with one, please send me a comment. I know it to be true. Because so many times I've judged people for the sake of their hobbies, for the sake of how they spend their time. And when it comes down to spending more time with them in unique circumstances, perhaps trying circumstances, I realize how amazing those human beings actually are. And oftentimes I find myself questioning whether or not my judgments of humanity in general are flawed. Questioning in the sense that I know they're flawed. Because what fun is life if we know all the damn answers? But I wanted to read some parts over again for my own edification and hopefully for your own interest. But this is a particularly good chapter, in my opinion. Like the ocean is your God self. The ocean is our God self. There is an ocean in each one of us, Catalyst. Do you believe you have an ocean in you? What about an entire universe? I hope you do. It remains forever undefiled. And like the ether, it lifts but the winged. Who are the winged? Are you the winged? I believe the catalysts are the winged. Even like the sun is your God self and knows not the ways of the mole, nor seeks its holes of the serpent. But your God self dwells not alone in your being. Much in you is still man, and much in you is not yet man, but a shapeless pygmy that walks asleep in the mist, searching for its own awakening. Awaken. And of the man in you would I now speak, for it is he and not your God self, nor the pygmy in the mist that knows crime and punishment. So he's saying, listen, if you rose above your humanity, you would realize these things. You would realize these realities of the fabric. This is an interesting one. The murdered, and this also, though the word lie heavy upon your hearts, the murdered is not unaccountable for his own murder. The murdered is not unaccountable for his own murderer. And the robbed is not blameless in being robbed. The righteous is not innocent in the deeds of the wicked, and the white-handed is not clean in the doings of the felon. Yet the guilty is oftentimes the victim of the injured. Yet the guilty is often the victim of the injured. And yet more often the condemned is the burden bearer for the guiltless and the unblamed. Go watch some documentaries on how our prison system works, and you'll know how true these words really are. Or the story of Jesus. There are no truer words than this. Meaning we're all very similar. And believe me, I've been on my high horse. Hell, in some of these videos, maybe I seem like I'm on my high righteous ass horse. The reality is, ground yourself, son, daughter, whatever it is. Ground yourself. Believe in your fellow human being. Believe in yourself. And when you do, check out this video. It's the last one I made on Khalil Gibran, the last chapter of his. I will continue this. In equilibrium, my friend. Try to exist in equilibrium. I believe you will find the most peace there. Actualize your potential catalyst. This world needs you. Take care.